Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IS Current Affair Analysis for 15th of March 2021. In this video, we will be looking at a couple of issues. This article titled The Job Crunch and Growing Fires of Nativism is about how states in our country are using reservation as a tool instead of actually working towards creation of jobs. Recently, Haryana government has reserved 75% of the seats per local people. Similar trends were witnessed over the last few years in Karnataka, and the latest entrant to this is Tamil Nadu, where the DMK party has announced that it would reserve 75% of the jobs created for its local people. Now, why is this phenomenon a dangerous one for private businesses? Let us take, for example, any company A, which is considered to be a multinational company, say, for example, Amazon. If Amazon has to thrive in a environment, it requires skilled workforce. So it is the responsibility of the state to ensure that ease of doing business. Now, Amazon should have the freedom to choose its employees from across the country for efficiency, because the ultimate driving force of a company is efficiency. If efficiency is not taken as a measure, it would affect the functioning of the company in the longer term. Similarly, there are various kinds of jobs that will be reserved for different kinds of people according to the latest set of legislations that are witnessed across the states. Now, if this reservation of jobs is just limited to the low level, low paying jobs, then it would be fine. Say, for example, if we are coming back to the example of Amazon, if it is just about delivery boys and other kinds of jobs, or what is considered to be a gig economy, then that kind of a reservation can be justified to a certain extent, given the fact that states extend certain benefits. So as a part of the bargain, states can say that maybe these companies can reserve certain amount of jobs to the local population, but that is not the case here. In the case of Haryana, which is facing a severe job crunch, this 75% reservation is applicable to those employees who have a paycheck which can extend up to 50,000 rupees per month. So, the basic requirement for any business, strictly from a business perspective, we are talking about it. So, so if you are to be an employable workforce, the state collectively should have a skilled labor workforce, and this skilled labor workforce will in turn depend upon the social capital of that state. Now, what do you mean by social capital? It is a measure of the health, education, as well as skill indicators of a particular set of population in that state. So, if we have poor health, the cycle continues in such a way that he will not be able to afford proper education, because in India we don't have proper health care, and the out of pocket expenditure is so high that it might drive people into poverty. So, the maternal health and infant mortality rate is the first place that a state should work upon. Now, we're talking about certain states which have poor health outcomes and education levels as far as the learning outcomes are concerned, which are really important for employability. Many states are lacking in this aspect. And definitely, when the basic education itself is lacking, there is no question of a skilled based ecosystem in our economy till now. The government has indeed been trying for quite a time to upskill the workforce and ensure employability, but it has seen very little success. So, in this article, the author is pointing out to this major flaw where the states, instead of working on creating the capacities, are resorting to populist measures like reserving jobs for locals. So, it is like expecting instant results when it affects the ecosystem in the longer run. The author also quotes an example. Say, for example, you have a company, Flipkart. Flipkart was actually bought by a company called Walmart, and the operations of this company were laid down in Karnataka in Bangalore. So the author opines that the reason behind operating from Bangalore is because there is a skilled workforce in that locality. Now it is significantly easier for Amazon to come and locate their ecosystem within this framework because they'll be easily finding skilled workforce in Bangalore rather than elsewhere. So that is the logic behind the argument proposed by the author. So if you are actually putting a cap on the number of people that can work in a particular state based on the region, there is every possibility that a cosmopolitan city like Bangalore will face reverse migration because of the inability to cater to wide section of population that resides in Bangalore. So this is what this article is trying to say, and it poses a 333 danger, that is the divergence among states. So when we're talking about divergence, we are basically talking about the inequality between the states. So in this 333 effect, what this author is trying to say is the top 3 states in terms of per capita revenue are 3 times more richer than the 3 poorest states in our country. So this actually widens the gap between the richer states and the poorer states. So does that mean we have to resort to populistic politics and reserve 75% of the jobs to the locals? That is simply not possible because, like we have already discussed, unless and until we have all the prerequisite skill set, it is very difficult for the states to have a attractive investment destination. That is what this article is trying to say. So the bottom line is this: we have to focus on building our social capital. What is that social capital? Getting the basics right with respect to education, healthcare, and skills. So this should be aligned with the objectives of the industry as well. That is the gist of this article. This article, titled Relooking the Mandal Verdict and Quota Cap, was already discussed in previous videos, but we'll discuss it comprehensively right now. So if you have to talk about the OBC reservation, we know that in India, in the Indira Sane judgment in 1992, the government was given a directive by the Supreme Court saying that in India, the reservation cap should be 50% to ensure efficiency in our country. But recently, we have had the EWS Reservation Act, which ensured 10% reservation to the economically weaker sections from the unreserved category if they have a particular category of income, if they fall within a certain criteria set down by the government from time to time. Similarly, there was 27% reservation for OBCs. But at the same time, if you take a look at the states like Tamil Nadu, where 69% of reservation was already given even before the Indira Sawhney judgment. Since retrospective action on these laws were not possible, they were placed in what was called the ninth schedule of the constitution. Recently, Marathas were given reservation in Maharashtra, thereby breaching the 50% limit. So there was a question in the Supreme Court as to how this was possible after the Indira Sawhney judgment. What is the role of states in deciding the reservation for certain communities is also questioned in a PIL. Now, it was the duty of Supreme Court to understand the nuances behind this particular decision taken by the Maharashtra government and also test the legality or constitutionality of this particular action. So that is the mandate laid down in front of the Supreme Court. Even various other states like Karnataka are in line to create certain quotas for specific castes and communities like the Lingayats. So even Karnataka like states will be impacted with this decision. So since this is going to be a significant paradigm shift in our electoral politics as well, this decision that would be taken up by the Supreme Court is being looked at with very much keen interest. So that is what this article is trying to say. That is the gist of this article.